It is the month of December. Football season has come and gone for most South Texas high schools. The stadiums are now empty, waiting dormant until next fall. But there was a year when the high school football season for one Valley team went on all the way into December and to the state championship game in Austin, Texas. The year was 1961. Welcome to Donna, Texas, home of the 1961 AA football state champions. Yes, these proud people still display this victory, and it carries in the minds and hearts of many citizens of this community, even today. Football in the Valley and Texas is still king, but the only king in Valley football has been and still are the 1961 Donna Football Redskins. Let's visit with some of the surviving former team members of the only state champions in the Rio Grande Valley of South Texas. Go Donna Redskins.
On the stop for the Redskins, number 73, Frank Castillo.
These young high school athletes made history in a time when the world was in a crisis. Army, Reserve, and National Guard units had been mobilized for war.
Okay, I'm Oscar Adame, and now back in 1961, I was the first sergeant for the Donna National Guard unit, and we were called up to go on active duty because of the Berlin crisis. It was pretty serious. The Cold War was going full steam, and it looked like the United States was going to go to war with Russia.
Played Refugio. Yeah. They had a pullback or something. They called him the Night Train.
Night Train Lane.
Night Train Lane. And I think it was the second quarter he was out. Mm-hmm. By the second quarter, I think he was not playing anymore or something like that. I think so.
What happened to him?
Me and Oscar and Fabian made sure he wasn't going to play anymore.
Tell him what really
happened. We averaged 192 pounds a man on the line. I weighed the most at 203, and Johnny Batto weighed the least, but he was the meanest. I don't know is Batto here?
Not yet.
He got hit by a railroad train. It knocked the car off the track, but it broke his teeth all out. When he had pulled them teeth out before the game, man, you talk about mean looking. Man, I'd be snaggletooth down there.
And we just couldn't believe once they won district that we beat Refugio, not only beat them, but blasted them out of the football field, and they said, hey, we're serious about this thing.
But it was a community effort. Mr. Zuniga here, his brother Tile was very inspirational to all of us. The National Guard, everybody being behind us. It was a community effort. It was Coach Cavazos in elementary. It was Coach Haas in middle school. It was Coach Cod in La Prep. It was just something that happened. It was a miracle year.
I'm Betty Scott, Coach Scott's wife, for the team, for the school, and the community. I've never been involved in anything where the community got so involved. People closed stores because, as I think they told you, we lost every flip, so every game, playoff game, was out of town. And people were borrowing money. It was getting close to Christmas time, and they were doing that instead of having Christmas.
In talking to Coach Scott, he had been very, very successful in Eagle Pass and in Laredo and in a couple other places that tended to have large Mexican-American populations, and he was able to come to Donna and to succeed there as well.
That was outstanding. I think our school spirit, our community spirit, and it was something very special. Larry Jones, as I might mention, he passed away 2 days ago. Yeah, and Larry Jones was our band director, and Shirley Ashwood had this real team, and they kept the whole school so pumped up. the last week we would have, Larry Jones would have pep rallies in between classes. And it was just something very special that the whole school and the support we had. I think they put a lot of pressure on our team because of the great support that we had.
So our unit, along with the 49th, which were part of the 49th Armored Division, and we were Company D of the 4th Battalion of the 112th Armored Cavalry. But we were called up, and we had seen, before we left the Donna area or the valley, we had seen our first two games that Donna played, and unfortunately, those were the games that we lost. However, you know, we're die-hard Redskin fans, and we kept up with the unit. We left for Louisiana, and we kept in touch on how the team was doing.
You know, if you look at the history of Texas, unfortunately, Mexican Americans have not always been treated particularly well, but yet...
The word they use, how many beans or how many chili beans did y'all have or something like that? You know, I didn't really pay too much attention to all those remarks. We do it on the field. You know, at least that's what we were trained to do.
And I think that by looking at successful Mexican-American high school football coaches, successful Mexican-American athletes, and in this particular case, a team from the Valley that wins a state title in the sport that Texans most love, that helps to break down a lot of barriers as well.
But Coach Haas is the one that instilled discipline in us and treated everybody the same. Didn't matter if you were poor or came from a well-off family. And that's where we started learning a lot of respect for him. And Coach Scott and Coach LaPrade were basically the same type of people, you know. So, so we looked up to them.
All of these young men, you know, I mean, they came from different backgrounds, and there was a love of the game and dedication, effort, you know, whatever you want to call it. But like for example, in that Quanah game, we were behind in the fourth, going into the fourth quarter. We were behind 21-14. Donna was behind. And, you know, they were able to reach down and pull it out. And 21-12. And it was, final score was 28-21. It was a fantastic season for these gentlemen. And I commend them, I respect them. And
a gentleman by the name of Howard Ratliff, who wrote a lot about high school football in Texas during the 50s, 60s, and I think even into the 70s and maybe even the 80s. And he did an article called "The Mexicans Show Them." And that came out like in 1962, 1963, and it talked a little bit about the team. But the problem that I had with Mr. Ratliff's article, and it was a good place for me to start, was that he really didn't talk to any of the players. He talked exclusively to Coach Scott, and most of the article is praising Coach Scott. And there's actually a line that I can paraphrase where he says something to the effect that, and it shows that Mexican kids can do as well as white kids if only given the proper coaching or the proper leadership. And, you know, I mean, I can understand why he would say something like that, but I also took it to mean that, well, if you didn't have an Americano guiding these kids, then they wouldn't have been able to succeed.
And who would have thought that some of these guys from down here that were poor and migrants and so forth, that their names would come out in the newspaper in Dallas, San Antonio, you know, Houston area, and so forth. Not only in the Valley, but other parts of the state of Texas. And
in 1961, we started with 19, and we lost a real fine sophomore, Raul Zamora, before the season started. He drowned. And then we went on and finished the season with 17. We lost Nick Padilla in the quarterfinal game, and we went on, we actually had 17 players. But I'll tell you what, people did not recognize our I think our endurance and how physically and mentally tough we were. And nobody realized, I think, how the minimum mistakes that we made. And this is, of course, due mainly to being in our fundamentals that we had, that we were just fortunate to survive.
There's another thing, también, that happened when we went to play a game, a regular game. It was like chicken feet. I mean, compared to what we worked out during the week, the practice, when we got ready to play a game, it was a piece of cake. I mean, you know, we had power to spare.
I'd like to say this, out of that survival with 17, we would have never been there had it not been for Larry Lower. Larry Lower was our trainer, and he kept us in business, and we had people that limped all weekend and half the week, but in Friday they went. And I think we can give credit to Larry Lower for that. He kept us in good physical shape.
Back then, when we played, we were probably the first team that started lifting weights, really, in the Rio Grande Valley, and we were strong. And it come down to the fourth quarter, we're going to win that fourth quarter. I guarantee you that.
I went to see all of their practices, and they played harder. They practiced harder in the practices, and when it came down to game time, it was just, you know, it was like nothing. You know what I mean? They're still fresh. You know, you didn't see any of these guys leaning over like gold hunters, looking down on the ground. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Diamond hunters. You know what I mean? And you know, that, I guess that helped to demoralize the other teams, because they would, you know, they'd be down on one knee, the other team would be down on one knee, and these guys would be just standing up and just waiting, you know, hey, come on, run another play, come on, run another play.
One of the toughest players that you remember that you played against?
Ronaldo Farias, and the coach sitting right here beside me cussed me something fierce. After that play, second half, we kicked off to them. And I don't know how many remember down at Sharyland? La Jolla. We kicked off to them, and man, I went down that field, and he caught that ball, and he come up that field, and I hit him, and it was just bam. And I mean, he went back about 4 yards down, and I went back at about 4 or 5 yards down. He hopped up and ran to the sideline. I crawled to the sideline, and that ain't no joke.
And sure enough, boy, I tell you, that game was you would see the players, our players on the field, lined up, you know, for the play to start, and steam was coming out of our players. You couldn't see it from the other team, from Quana team, but our players, I mean, you could see the vapor, you know, coming out. So they said, these guys are ready to play football, man. And
Ronaldo Farias, that's what I said. And what was so funny about it is years later here in Corpus, I was working with an elementary school here for about 20 years as a mentor, and his aunt, Miss Farias, was a teacher at that school. And she remembered that game.
It is hard for another team in the fourth quarter. It's just like Quana. They looked like they scored, and they looked like they were getting high, you know, getting built up and jumping up and down and everything else. And then we went down and scored, and we'd sprint to the other end. Everything we did, we'd sprint to the huddle. We sprint to wherever we were going. My gosh, they said, what's wrong with those kids? And we beat them in the fourth quarter. We just beat them down. We beat everybody.
David Wheaton, Paul Jenkins, some of those guys, you know, that I grew up with and played, you know, used to go play Little League baseball with. But that's what I'm trying to say, that we came from different backgrounds and different areas. But when we got on the field, like Nick said, we were all for each other.
I think the team was well racially mixed, but if I remember correctly, I think 10 of the 18 players were Mexicanos. So I mean, there was a good balance, and I think the team just gelled very, very well.
And what was different between East Donna and West Donna?
Well,
The surnames.
You take it from there. There was a division, you know. Mexican Americans on one side of town and Anglos on the other side. But then it started changing.
Here's what I was going to ask. Are you in East Donna or the other Donna?
Well, I'll point to you. Edwards was in Donna, Abel was in Donna, Alfredo and I were East Donna. Pedraza was kind of in between Donna. Coach Scott was in Valverde somewhere, wasn't he? Over there in the orchards. Country.
How was that different? How was East Donna?
Well, there was East Donna and Donna. You know, East Donna, like the old railroad track or the canal, divided the town, and most of the Hispanics lived in East Donna except for Pedraza and Boxer and Abel.
The higher up.
But it was just, you know, just like most towns in those days, there was the east side of town or one side of town, the other side of town, but that's just the way it is. But under Coach Scott, there was no dividing line. Everybody got worked out exactly the same.
So you didn't discriminate, huh?
There was no discrimination there.
As far as our championship games, by far the worst that we ever had was at Divine. Divine was just brutal. I mean, you'd go to the line and get down in your stance, and my number was 72, and the guy in front of me was 73, and we didn't know either names, but he'd say, "Come on, 72, just come on." I said, "Just a minute, let me call the block, and I'll be there."
Well, do you ever think another team will win from the Valley?
Oh, I probably. But the thing of it is, we won, they can't take it away from us. And we were first, and they can't be but one first. No, we were very fortunate to have survived with 17, 18 players. That in itself was something.
You sure we had 17?
Coach, what made this team so special that it hasn't been done again? Why hasn't it happened again?
Well, I don't know. I think some of these schools have such great programs, like up there at Judson, and some of these schools they're in a university level. Nobody makes a team except seniors, and it's just very. They have some great programs throughout the country, and in some of those schools like Round Rock, you got to have an invitation to come out for football. You just don't say you want to come out for football. And when they have so many young men that want to play, but it's a matter of numbers, and I think they have better programs upstate, I think. Right now, I'd say that if anybody has a chance, it'd probably be Port Isabel, because they've got a great support group in Port Isabel. And I've been down there to see them once or twice this year. I enjoy seeing them. They're the closest thing, I think, right now to Donna, what we
had an opportunity to talk to, oh my goodness, by this stage of the game, I would say I've interviewed 30, 35, 40 coaches, primarily from the Valley and from El Paso. And a lot of the coaches tell me that you have good teams from Laredo, you have good teams in El Paso that do very, very well within their districts, but that once they get to if they get beyond the first round of the playoffs and they eventually run into some teams from San Antonio, from the Metroplex, from Houston, from those larger communities, there's just simply a great disparity between the depth that those teams have versus the teams from the Valley, for example. And there's also an issue that a lot of the kids in these larger communities have access to better equipment, better training. They're bigger, they're stronger in many cases. So that does become an issue once you get to to the district or a little bit further along in the playoffs.
And honestly, to tell you the truth, I do not believe that it will happen again. I don't think kids nowadays are willing to pay the price. They're not willing to work as hard as we did in those years. And the community has to be behind them. The coaches have to be there for all the right reasons. And I just feel that it will not happen again unless we have a very strong reversing psychology and thinking of what it takes to be a winner.
There have been a couple of examples since the '61 Donna Redskins, but the area is very poor. You have a lot of kids who simply, out of necessity, have to continue to help their parents instead of help their parents by working part-time or even more. And unfortunately, that reduces, I think, the level or the pool of available talent.
Some of us were working, like Nick says, and we're working in the fields or whatever. I remember being in Alamo or somewhere else and picking cotton with my uncle, and I tell my brother and my sister, hey, take my sack home. I've got to get to the school. He said, where you going? He says, I've got to go lift weights. No, you don't. And, Dad's going. I said, it's okay. I'm going to go. And I get out there and hitchhike or walk part of the way, hitchhike till I got to Donna, and went into the gym and to work out. But I think most of us showed up that summer to lift weights, and that's how that's one of the things that he started there that I don't think any other coach had done before.
It is possible to achieve this. It is possible, I think, for a team from the Valley to play for a state title again somewhere in the future. That part of the state is growing. I would say it should be possible to have a team like Donna win a state championship somewhere down the line again.
When will it take?
Well, I think all championship seasons are a matter, there's just a whole lot of things that come together. You have to have good coaching. I think you have to have a good system. I think that you also have to have a group of good athletes that come together, that fit together, that work together. It goes back to the argument or the question that you brought up earlier about how well these young men got along, both on the field and off the field. I think you also just need to have a couple of lucky breaks.
The toughness on this 61 team that I'd like to expand on a little is that we played 15 games that year and not one player ever stayed down on the field.
I'm Barbara LaPrade. I'm Benny LaPrade's widow. He was a wonderful person. He loved the boys. He loved working with the boys.
Was it Coach LaPrade that said if you stayed down, he'd go up to you and say, bury him, he's dead? or was it just the toughness of the players? To me, it was more the toughness of the players because we did not fear our coaches, we respected them.
And he's always talked about him having them run sprints and that he could beat most of them. And I've never thought to ask the boys, so I want to ask him after a while if he really did beat some of them. I can't believe it.
You had a little saying también to run it out.
Run it out. Run it out. We got our sprained ankles and run it out, or fever,
I remember somebody,
cold.
Jackie or somebody got stepped on or something like that, and he made a remark like, oh, it's about 5 feet away from your heart. Run it out.
Run it
out. Benny would come home and talk about running sprints, and he said that he could beat a lot of you boys in the sprints. He said not the 100, but he could beat you in. Okay. Did he really? I didn't really believe him, and I've never thought to ask you. Okay.
Coach LaPrade was bigger, stronger, meaner look. I don't know, he wasn't meaner looking than Coach Scott. Coach Scott's meaner looking. Oh, yeah, he was. But Coach LaPrade really had a huge heart. He was really like the father figure for a lot of us. Even though he worked our butt pretty well, and Coach Scott, of course, I don't think Coach Scott ever smiled till we had a reunion. But Coach LaPrade was a real good man, and he's gone now, but he was a father figure to a lot of us.
He said, if you're hurt, if you go down, he said, you better stay down. They better carry you off in a stretcher.
You better be dead or dying.
See, because I'm not going to go get you out.
You better be dead or dying, one of the two.
these boys are so special. When they got together the last reunion, that they gave me, they decided to have them a ring, and they remembered me and gave me a ring that with Benny's name, and they're really special boys, and I certainly appreciated it.
Give us some advice.
The only advice that I would give is, to me, the advice would be to the coaches, to act like coaches, talk like coaches, have the responsibilities, look up the definition of a coach. And the definition of a coach is not to be overweight and using obscenities to motivate the players. This is not how you motivate. That is not how we were motivated. Coach Scott and LaPrade were firm and stern, but never were obscenities, never any racial slurs, ever at all. That is not what you need. What you need is a coach that knows how to lead, that knows how to coach, and understands the ethnic backgrounds of the students here in the Valley. That some strategies will not work. We need a community effort. We need the parents to understand that if this guy's going to play the quarterback, that's because he's a better quarterback than your kid. There's too many parents criticizing the coach, objecting, getting in the way, interfering, so that basically, from what little I know, I've never been a coach, but from my observations and answering your question, that's what I feel. First of all, we need a coach who is a coach in the true sense of the word. To me, a coach is one who's a good role model and leads by example so that the kids can follow. You may win here in the Valley, but when you get up to the Corpus or you get up to the Houston area, you're going to need a little extra. And if the coach gives you that little extra, then the players will follow. That's what I've always thought. That's my.
Some advice?
If they want to excel today, it just takes a full-time effort. It can't be a part-time deal where these kids work now. It's a year-round preparation. And this is the thing I think that separates the winners from the losers. A lot of them want to work during season. After season, it's going to the beach and playing volleyball. But if they want to win, it's a full-time, year-round preparation.
My advice to kids nowadays is to have discipline. Discipline to be out at practice and discipline during the game, and don't make mistakes.
And you can see it now in the newspapers. Obesity is one of the leading things here in the United States because kids are on the computer, sitting in air condition, and instead of being outside getting some exercise.
My name is Raul Alvarado. I live in Ingleside. I was number 65, was a guard. And what I have to tell the kids is just be determined, don't give up. Just because you're losing doesn't mean that you're going to give up.
What would you tell the young kids today?
Get in condition. Man, get that body fat off. And you can't play in the Rio Grande Valley and not be in shape.
That's exactly what I was going to say. They have an air-conditioned home, air-conditioned car. They go to air-conditioned school, air-conditioned gymnasium, and then when they go outside, they can't handle it.
We played football out in the street. We weren't sitting around like these kids nowadays. We were out there running, playing, getting our toes tore up in the pavement.
I mean, the kids nowadays are, even if they go outside and run a lap, like coaches make us run a lap if we said a bad word or something, the kids nowadays can't take it.
And I coached for 35 years. You see this on different teams in different sports where you try to say, well, one guy is trying to be the star, okay, and then the other kids start having animosity towards him or whatever, and they don't play as a team. And you know as well as I do that at any level, if you can't play as a team, it's very difficult to win, or to win it, win the whole thing.
If you're going to play the game, you got to have the heart. If you don't play.
The one thing that I would say is never quit. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are, just keep hitting and just keep going. Just never quit.
Well, there's so many distractions here. You got all kinds of theaters, computers. You got so many games that kids. You got malls. The first air-conditioned place we went was a bowling alley. in Weslaco.
A lot of people ask me, say, do you think you can play with the kids nowadays? And as I turn it around, do you think that kids nowadays can play with us?
That's true.
There's no way that they could play with us because the conditioning that they have, and they're too soft. In other words, back then you had to be tough to play football. Now every 3 plays you come out. They have 2 or 3 different platoons. We only had 1.
We didn't have as many distractions as these kids nowadays do.
How was high school training different?
Training different.
How was it different?
He can answer the training. Let him.
We ran and we ran and we ran and we ran.
But see, we had to go both ways. People don't realize that. We never got off the field. There's some, like Richard, that did. But Pedraza, you know, they couldn't hurt the quarterback. They'd try to save him. But Alfredo and I never got off the field, I know.
Yeah.
And but these kids now, they're 2 platoon, and they get up 325 pounds. Well, that's a heart attack, and you're asking for a heart attack. But you have to be in condition.
And we played from, if it's in the summer, we played from sun up to sundown playing football. You know, breaking windows. They had a green church next to where Lupe Saenz used to live. That's where we used to play.
But nowadays, it's the kids that have to look inside themselves and say, oh, we're willing to sacrifice. Right now is when you win the championship. In summer, lifting weights and running, and you go to the gym and all the gyms are empty. So it's very difficult. To me, it's very difficult to answer that question as to why.
You learned playing football.
One lesson I've learned, discipline. And I always carry that with me, you know, because discipline helped me a lot through my career, my years working for DuPont also, you know. So, and I was in the service also. And discipline has a lot to do with it. Matter of fact, I have a grandson right now that I run every morning 2 miles a day. You know, he's 9 years old, and he's playing football too. He's wants quarterback and fullback, and I run him in the morning. He has 2 a day, like everybody else right now, and he's 9 years old.
2 a day.
Okay, what else? Then I'll pass.
Say I guess to Ed, but I'd like to say that I'm glad that I was part of this team, and throughout the years I've learned that I can always depend on my teammates if I ever need help. So you know that's really what I want to say.
But was it easy for you to play football?
No, it's not easy. It's hard. It was hard.
Why? How started about it?
Well, the training, you know, the physical training, like they say, it was hard, you know, and like play football and like to say to help at the house, it was hard.
It's about the players that are not longer here. Fabian Barrera, 81, was a defensive end. Raul de la Garza, we called him Chief, or Coach Scott labeled him, gave him that title of Chief. He was a real smart defensive linebacker. He ran the defense. Luis Pedraza ran the
In one situation, and Chief was reading the coach's signals, and he had them, and so he was switching the defense, and what we called it a snake eye, just under 2 linebackers. And Chief was getting in there, so he was very smart and probably one of our most underrated players. We had 5 playoff games. You flipped for the site. We lost the flip for the site 5 times. We had to play all 5 playoff games away from home. And then we did not spend one night in the hotel. After the game, we would return home. And our logic was behind that. It was that we didn't want to lose the day. If we win, we wanted to get home and get ready for the next game. If we lost, well, we were getting ready for basketball the next day. So it was really important that we get home and prepare for the next game, and that's why we did not spend one night in a hotel. Even after the state final game, we played Quanah, and we came home after the game, and then Benny called a practice Sunday afternoon for basketball, and we had our first district game on Monday. Not only that, you flip for the kickoff at the beginning of a game. We lost all 5 flips, and finally got down to the last game, and old Nick Padilla came up. We'd lost 4 flips in a row, and Nick came up. He says, "Coach, give it to him."
wanted to see Donna in the headlines, you know. Donna wins.
Talking about heroes,
They're
the
coming
heroes,
into
the
play.
heroes on my team, to expand a little on what Pedraza was saying, was again Nick Padilla and Fabian Barrera. These guys were the ones that inspired me the most, and to me they were the heart of the team.
A bit about some of the players that are no longer here with us.
Oh, look, Fabian Barrera, he was a good defensive back. When him and Oscar teamed up together, man, there was nobody could stop them. They were out to hit. And man, Coach told us that you hit until the whistle blows. If you see anybody standing around, you better pop it. If you're not, you're in trouble. You know, that's the old style of football. I mean, Fabian was great. He was a great defensive end, and he only weighed 167 pounds. Oscar weighed maybe 150. You know, and then you had Raúl Alvarado. He was a guard. You know, and offense and defense whenever you had to. And then, boxer was good. And then, when Luz got hurt, we didn't have no quarterback. Freddie Edwards was quarterback.
Quarterback, Edwards right, Edwards left.
Sweep left, sweep right.
That's all he did when Luz Peraza got hurt. And then when Luz got hurt against Leipert, Richard became quarterback. You know, and he had to play quarterback, same kind of plays. And Alfredo, he was the fastest guy there, you know. And we blocked all together. And we had different kinds of signals. To change a play, you would be red or green. If we were going to change a play, Luz would call a color up on the line where he would read the defense and tell us which play we would run. You know, if the defense changed, he would change the color of the play. And we would run and change blocking assignments.
Then one time they asked me, I said, well, I just play for the fun of it. And I enjoy the game, and I love being around the guys. And one of the things that drives me is also that I want to see my parents' name. Because every time they say Pedraza or whatever, you know, they're talking about my parents.
Hoyos in number 29.
Maybe the unity of the team, you know, for you to be able to go to state and win it all, I mean, you have to be very competitive and be together from the quarterback all the way, you know, be together as a team. Because if you go down one, we cannot just blame the quarterback or the tailback or somebody. You know, you have to, if one goes down, they all get down. And I really do believe it's the unity of the team, you know, how close the team is that'll take you that far.
What is your name?
Angel
Cruz. What are you looking at here?
This is
For a couple of years,
Sweeney
they
and
traveling back and forth. So
we beat
finally
them
they hired
Sweeney and Brady, 32 to 14. 32 to 14.
I tell you what, Sweeney was supposed to have been a great team. What's that? Callaway was one of the.
They were ranked number 2 in the state when we played.
Well, that's one.
Well, the only thing that I know also that the difference between a football player and an athlete, a football player is usually told what to do and this and that, and an athlete from as a 2, 3, 4-year-old, he's already learning how to play, and you don't train those guys how to, or those little kids what to do, because it's already within inside of them, because they're champions and they want to play and fight and they win. You don't have to tell them to go out and give 100% every day. They do it themselves. It's dedication.
So we try to line up the way we're lined up there. The ones that are still here, 21 and 21, 22, 22, and like that, 60, 60, 65, 30.
René Maldonado Jr.
You're going to be a Redskin?
He's going to be a Redskin. His dad was a Redskin.
¿Quién era papá de ella?
That was René Maldonado. That's when they were 10-0, when they played Corpus Christi Carroll, and they lost in the playoffs 76 in Carroll. That's the best team down there, second to the ones that won state that have been there.
Number 46, Ugoyanes, no gain on that play. On the stop, number 40, Mark Gutierrez. Loss on the play, back to the 35-yard line. It is second and about 12, 13 yards, 12 yards needed for a first.
Okay, you were telling me about the Bobcats. What year was it that they almost made it to state? How was that?
Well, the Bobcats in the 50s, they went all the way to state, but they lost total penetration. The other team had more penetrations, I believe, and that's why they lost. But they were tied, the Bobcats and the other team. And the Bobcats, not too long ago, I mean, they went all the way to the quarterfinals. And those teams have the desire, I guess, heart, coaching, all the ingredients that you need to go. There are a lot of good kids here. They're not as big as the guys up the state, but they're real good. They're real good kids. They have a lot of discipline. And the kids that have a lot of discipline, and those are the kids that go further up. Our kids, the Edinburgh North Cougars, they have come off two pretty bad seasons, last 2 years. And this year, it looks like they're turning it around. We got a new coach, new staff. The kids are more fired up. They have more charisma. They're better trained.
So bottom line is what? What's the difference?
Coaching. If there's a bottom line, that has to be it.
Filming an end zone shot. I believe that the reason there has not been another state champion from the Valley in football or basketball or any other, I think the big reason for it is that the caliber of competition in the Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, San Antonio area is unbelievable. When you have a good team, there's 4 or 5 teams in your district that are just as good. So you've got to stay sharp every week. You got to stay on top of your game every week. Where in the Valley, if you get a real good team, nobody gives the competition. They roll over everybody, so they don't develop to their fullest potential. So when they play somebody that has that potential, it becomes difficult. Also, the Anglo kid from up the country are bigger and stronger, but we're catching up. I think it's just a matter of time where the Valley will have some state champions, like the Donna Redskins of 61, and I think we've been closing the gap, and every year we keep closing it, and eventually somebody will break through.
Get in the center. What is your name?
Mauro Vasquez Jr.
Okay, where do you work?
I'm retired. I used to be principal of Mercedes High School.
Okay, sir.
Donna was 2A, and I think you have a better chance when there's smaller schools to get up high as a state finals than there is in a 4A or 3A or 5A. That's my thinking. The only reason some other schools haven't gone. But all credit to Donna. I mean, they're the only team that's ever gone to that.
So there's no chance for anybody else to make it?
Oh, they might. They might. I wouldn't rule. I mean, put us out. You know, some of the Valley teams are getting bigger and better, and there might be one time they might be a state champ out of that.
What is your name, sir?
Oscar González from La Grandota.
La Grandota, Mercedes.
The reason the Valley hasn't achieved the state status is because they have bigger players and they're more committed to the athletic department in those big cities like.
What do you mean they're more committed?
I seen the stadium. I seen the stadium where the Mojo where I'm wearing this hat. The stadium is the state of the art. The kids, they bring them up in the 7th grade, and they teach them the same plays, the same. So when they get to high school, they already know what the head coach wants, because since they were in 7th grade, they've been taught the sports, the playbook of the head coach of the Mojo Magic.
Let me see that cap. Show it to me. Oh yeah. Thank you.
That the reason that the Donna Redskins won the state championship, I think it was a unique collection of personalities and abilities and coaching abilities. Everybody was at the right place at the right time, and so it certainly made for a unique team. Otherwise, it could have been done all over again, and obviously it hasn't. So that particular 1961 team of Donna Redskins had everything it took. All the key ingredients were in place. If it can ever happen again where all the ingredients fall into place, the talent, the coaching, being at the right place at the right time, you know, the calls going your way, because the championship game had several crucial calls that went in the favor of Donna. So I think that it's just a unique situation that happened that particular time in 1961. Who knows? It could happen again. That's like saying that lightning is going to strike twice at the same place. Could happen.
I think that ultimately there will be another championship team from the Valley. It'll have to be a confluence of all those things that I've talked about in order for it to happen. Now, I will say, I would think that there can be another team from the Valley that will win a state title. However, it seems to me that the margin of error for those teams is going to be a little bit narrower than, say, teams from the Metroplex. You simply don't have as many students. You don't have as many individuals playing. You may have several excellent individuals, but then their backups, you know, the depth of the team may not be as good as some of these teams from larger metropolitan areas. So the team has to stay healthy. I think it's a combination of all those things.
Okay, Dr. Albert, thank you very much.
All righty. Thank you.
Pass complete to number. Number 20, Mike Tatum. On the stop of the Tigers, number 9, Matt Bonilla. First down, Redskins in Tiger territory at the 46-yard line.
Right here.
things that I have to say to the kids: stay away from drugs and listen to the coach.
Steroids.
Oh, I don't even know what steroids are, and I hear about them, and I can't believe that any coach, high school coach, would ever get involved in it, and I just don't believe it happens. It may be, but it's way beyond my belief.
Alfredo, look.
Into this right now. I'm used to this right now.
Once we got to the stadium, well, you know, I went up to the ticket agent, and some of us had money to go in, but about 20 of our troops were very short on cash, and they didn't have money and to go in to see the game. So I went to the ticket agent, and seemed like a nice old guy, you know, and I says, hey, I understand that you let soldiers go in free. And ticket agent says, well, you know, I wish I could, but I didn't get any word on that. Anyway, they were going to broadcast on radio the Donna Quanah game. So we were hanging around there near the gate, you know, and then here comes this guy, and I forget his name. I thought it was Dixon from KRGV Radio. And he knew Julian. Julian was working for Channel 5 at that time, and he left Channel 5 to get back in the Guard so he could go with us on active duty. So this guy recognized, or Julian recognized this guy going in, and they started talking, and he says, well, are you going to go in the game? And said, well, you know, I like to, but some of our guys don't have any money. I said, well, I got one ticket here, you know, that y'all can have. So he gave Julian the ticket, and it was a press ticket, you know. And so I said, Julian, let me see that ticket, you know, and on the back it said admit, and it was supposed to be the name of the individual who was going to be connected with the radio station or TV station. So, but it was blank, so I had a little light click up here, and I said, who's got a pen, you know? And I think Julian had a pen, you know, and it says, I put in there, admit 38 soldiers from Fort Polk, Louisiana. So I said, I don't know whether it's going to fly or not, but we'll check it out. So I took it to a ticket agent, you know, and ticket agent that looked, and it was a press ticket, you know, and then he flipped it over. It says 38 soldiers, Fort Polk, Louisiana. Well, I guess so, you know, that's what it says here. So, okay, line up, he started. So we all went in time to see the opening kickoff, and so that's how come we got there. Julian tells me later on, after we got released from active duty, that he went back to work, and the people at Channel 5 were a little bit upset because they got a ticket for 38 soldiers. They got a bill. Anyway, they left.
One of the things, Mr. Saenz, that we as a team are the most proud of is that the respect and the honor and the recognition that we brought to the city of Donna, that the community of Donna, the citizens of Donna can still brag about that team 50 years later. And it brings great joy to us as a team to be able to see the satisfaction in their faces to say that we are the only state champions ever. You can argue, you can complain about anything you want, but nobody will ever take that away from the Donna Redskins. That we were the first and only team to ever win the state championship. And,
yeah, give yourselves a hand.
I feel like I speak for the whole team when I say that's one of the things that makes us so proud to be able to make the community proud of us and bring this honor to the citizens of Donna.
It was just something that happened. It was a miracle year.
So today, many coaches and athletes remain hopeful that perhaps one day another team from the Rio Grande Valley will be appearing at the state championship game once again and return to the glory days of South Texas football. Oh, by the way, this same group of young men were the same ones who also got into the state playoff games, only this time they did it in basketball. But that's another story. For now, I'm Lupe Saenz Jr., and I thank you for watching.